Okay, chapter 4. Draw a picture to represent these two triangles are congruent and name all the corresponding congruent parts. So triangle ABC matches up, A matches up with D. Those two angles are congruent. E matches up with B. Those two angles are congruent. And then C matches up with F. Those two angles are congruent. So if I name all the corresponding parts, I have to write the angles are congruent. So angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle B is congruent to angle E. Angle C is congruent to angle F. And then I have to go through and list the segments that are congruent. So AB, the segment, is congruent to DE, the segment. One tick, one tick. CB, the segment, is congruent to FE, the segment. 2 ticks, 2 ticks. AC, the segment, is congruent to DF, the segment. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 3 angles, 3 segments. And then with proofs here, supply the reasons in this proof. So why is AB congruent to DC and these angles congruent? That's given. Now I need to make sure that they're marked on my diagram. So they are. The segments and the angles are congruent. Why is AC congruent to CA? That is reflexive because they share a side. So the triangles are congruent by side, angle, side. So triangles can be congruent by angle, side, angle, angle, side, 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 angle, angle, side, or hypotenuse, leg. Okay, here are a couple more proofs right here. So when you make a proof, you want to write your givens over here. So, oops, I don't want to make that big arrow. So I'm going to write my givens over here and write given. And then I make sure that they're marked. So EF congruent to FG marked. FH congruent to DH marked. Or DF is congruent to FH, that's marked. So why are these triangles congruent? So I haven't been given anything else, but I can look at my diagram and write angle EFD is congruent to angle HFG by the vertical angle theorem. So therefore I have enough information. Therefore the triangles are congruent by side, angle, side. And then 38 down here, you're given that angle K is congruent to angle M, that's marked, and that KL is congruent to LM, that's marked, so I write by given. Now I've used everything else, so now I look at my diagram. Well, I can write that these two angles are congruent, so angle JLK is congruent to angle PLM by vertical angle theorem. So now I know the triangles are congruent, so triangle KLJ is congruent to, so KLJ matches up with M, K and M are corresponding, and then L corresponds with L, and J corresponds with P. So that this is by angle, side, angle. There's a side in between two angles. So once I prove the triangles are congruent, now I can write that the angles are congruent by the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, for this next one, let's write FH is congruent. I'm going to write these triangles out separately because they're overlapping. So GHE, GHE, and FHE. So F is at the top, and E is right here, and H. So I'm given that FH is congruent to GE by given, so I did that. And then the angles, these angles right here are congruent. And also, I can look right here that HE and HE are congruent. These two sides, they share a side. So I write HE is congruent to EH by reflexive. So I'm noticing that that didn't really seem to get me anywhere because I don't have enough information right here. I don't have that these are angles. So I go back and I notice that these angles are not a part of the triangles. However, there's these two triangles right here that overlap.